Have you ever laughed, even when you were feeling sad inside? Maybe you were with your friends. Maybe you smiled and tried to look happy. But deep in your heart, something felt heavy. Life can be like that sometimes. We smile on the outside, but inside, we feel something very different. Now think about this. What if someone could make millions of people laugh while hiding their own pain? What if the person who brings joy to the world is actually carrying a very difficult life? This is the story of Charlie Chaplin, a man who made the whole world laugh. People from different countries, different languages, different cultures, all understood him. He did not need to speak much. He did not need big words. Just a small movement, a funny walk, a simple expression, and people could not stop laughing. Children loved him. Adults loved him. Everyone felt something special when they watched him. But here's the strange part. His real life was not funny at all. In fact, it was the opposite. It was full of struggle, full of pain, full of moments that no child should ever face. So how did this happen? How did a boy who had almost nothing become one of the most famous faces in the world? And why do people still remember him today? There is something powerful about his story. It is not just about becoming famous. It is about surviving hard times. It is about finding light, even when everything feels dark. Because before the fame, before the movies, before the laughter, there was a small boy. A boy who did not always have enough food. A boy who sometimes felt alone. A boy who saw life in a very difficult way. And maybe, just maybe, that is why he understood people so well. That is why his comedy felt so real. Because it came from truth. Because it came from experience. Because it came from pain. But at that time, no one knew what this small boy would become. No one knew that one day, the whole world would watch him. No one knew that his story would inspire millions. And the most surprising part? It all started in a very simple place, a place far away from fame and success, a place where life was hard and hope was small. So let's go back to the beginning, back to the streets of London, where this incredible journey began. Because what happened next was something no one expected. Charlie Chaplin was born in London, England in the year 1889. London was already a famous city at that time. There were big buildings, busy streets, and many people. Some people were rich and lived comfortable lives, but not everyone. There was another side of London, a quiet, darker side. In this part of the city, poor families lived in small, cold rooms. The streets were not clean. Food was not always easy to find. Life was full of struggle. Charlie was born into this world. His parents were performers. They worked in music halls, singing and acting in front of small crowds. It may sound exciting, but their life was not stable. Sometimes they had work, sometimes they did not. And when there was no work, there was no money. Charlie's father had serious problems with alcohol. He was often away from the family. Even when he was there, he could not give support or care. So most of the responsibility was on his mother, Hannah. She was kind and loving. She tried her best to take care of Charlie and his brother. She also worked as a singer and actress, but life was not easy for her. One day, something changed. Her voice began to fail. Slowly, she could not sing like before. Her performances became difficult, and soon, she lost her job. This was a big problem, because without her voice, there was no income. And without income, life became very hard. The little money they had disappeared. Food became less and less. There were days when Charlie felt hungry, days when he did not know if there would be food at night. Can you imagine being a child and worrying about food? Can you imagine feeling cold with no warm place to go. This was Charlie's daily life, and things became even more difficult because his mother also became sick. She could not always take care of the children. Sometimes she needed help herself. So Charlie and his brother were sent to special homes for poor children. These places were not like normal homes. They were strict, quiet, and often very lonely. There was no comfort, no warmth, no feeling of family. For a young child, this experience can be very painful. There were no toys to play with, no one to laugh with, only rules, silence, and waiting. But something interesting was happening inside Charlie. Even in these difficult moments, he was watching the world. He observed people very carefully. He noticed how someone walked when they were sad, how someone moved when they were tired, how people showed happiness or pain without speaking. Without knowing it, Charlie was learning something very important. He was learning about human emotions. He was learning how to understand people. These small observations stayed in his mind. They became a part of him, and one day, they would help him create something special. Life was still hard for Charlie Chaplin. Days were slow, nights were quiet, and the future was unclear. He was just a young boy, living in a world where nothing felt certain. But then, something unexpected happened. Something small, something no one planned. And yet, it changed everything. One evening, Charlie went with his mother to a music hall. It was a place where people came to watch singing and acting. The lights were bright. The stage was alive. The audience was waiting. His mother, Hannah, was going to perform. For a moment, everything felt normal. She walked onto the stage. The music started. People watched quietly. But then, something went wrong. Her voice was not strong. It began to shake. It began to break. She tried to continue, but she could not. The audience started to notice. Some people became uncomfortable. Some began to laugh. Others whispered to each other. For a moment, there was silence. Then Charlie began to move. He tried to copy his mother's style. He tried to sing, to perform, to entertain. At first, it was simple. But then something interesting happened. The audience started to react. Some people smiled, some laughed, and then more laughter. The same people who were uncomfortable just moments ago were now enjoying the moment. Charlie noticed this. He understood something important. People were watching him. People were feeling something. So he continued. He added small movements, funny actions, simple expressions, and the audience responded. They laughed louder, they clapped, they enjoyed the moment. After that unexpected moment on stage, something began to change inside Charlie Chaplin. Life was still not easy. He still faced hunger. He still lived in difficult conditions, and many days were still full of uncertainty. But now, there was a small direction, a small idea, a quiet feeling that maybe he belonged on the stage. Charlie began to look for more opportunities. He joined small performance groups. He worked with other young actors. Slowly, step by step, he started learning. At first, the work was simple. Small roles, small stages, small audiences. But for Charlie, it meant everything. Because every time he performed, he learned something new. Now, Charlie Chaplin was famous. People around the world knew his face. They watched his films in crowded theaters. They laughed together. They waited for his next movie. His character, the tramp, had become a symbol of hope and humor. From the outside, everything looked perfect. He had money, he had success, he had millions of fans. But inside, things were not so simple. Because fame can be bright, but also very lonely. Life is not always easy. Sometimes it feels heavy. Sometimes it feels unfair. And sometimes it feels like no one understands what we are going through. But Charlie's life shows us something important. Even in difficult moments, there is still a chance to move forward. Even in pain, there is still a small light. So the next time life feels difficult, take a small step forward. Keep going. Because just like Charlie, your story is still being written.